Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Geek Tech Show. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about a special event that is going to happen very soon to Bitcoin. And this episode is 100% about Bitcoin itself. Now, the thing that is going to happen is that every 4 years they have a halving event that happens to Bitcoin. This happened in 2012, 2016, and the next one is happening in 2020. The interesting thing about the halving events is that it actually makes Bitcoin deflationary, meaning its value is going to increase. Every single time there is a halving event, there is less supply that is pulled out from Bitcoin, and that actually means the price of it astronomically supposed to actually jump. Now, every single time before the halving event actually occurred, the price of Bitcoin exploded right the year before the event actually happened. Then it totally crashed down. So this is more like in the stock market itself, so the news event. What actually happens is the same thing as in the stock market, where everybody, the speculators, buying into the actual event itself. And as more people are buying into it, the price goes higher and higher and higher. And eventually, right when the event actually happens, when people actually think that the price is going to go even higher, the reality is it totally drops and people who bet against it win big money. So the halving event is exactly the same exact thing. Now, this actually means that the price of Bitcoin is going to start going up in around May 2019, which is right now. Based on previous charts, this is exactly when it actually started. So this has nothing to do actually with the stock market itself. Just because the stock market dropped has nothing to do with the Bitcoin, because people are speculating on the halving event and has nothing to do with the stock market. Now, Bitcoin itself is actually trying to be an alternative to another form of currency that banks actually use, which is gold currency. This is different, totally different kind of speculating currency versus gold, which has been proven since ancient times. And gold, the thing what actually makes people really get attracted to it is the scarcity of gold itself. The amount of gold in the whole world, if you really melt it down and you put it in one specific location, it's going to be the size of an actual swimming pool, like Olympic size swimming pool. That is how much gold we have on the planet. Because we don't have this much gold, this is why people and governments like to get gold. Now, when you get gold, it's always gold plated. You're not getting the actual real deal, like tons of gold, the whole entire block of gold. There's a lot of things in it that makes it not pure gold. Because if you melt it down and you make it the purest gold possible, there's only so much that actually exists. And because of scarcity, this is why the price of gold is one of the true forms of actually putting value into something. And that's why for ever since the age of time, gold was actually a form of currency before United States and President Nixon decided to get off the gold standard. Every single buck that you actually had in your pocket was backed by a bar of gold in the United States until Nixon took it off. And because he took it off, the whole value of money collapsed. In fact, the value of United States money, because of the Fed, actually 95% of the value fell down. That's right. So the Fed is actually, and money, there are two different people who are playing against it. They want to destroy the value of money. The only way you keep the value of money against inflation, wages, all kinds of things that are going to go against your value of money. The only way that you can actually protect yourself is actually with stock market. You can protect yourself with gold. You can protect yourself with actually hard assets, such as houses, such as actual investment in things like collections. You can't actually protect yourself with storing value in the actual dollar, because that's the Fed itself trying to destroy the value of the dollar ever since the Nixon went off, the gold standard especially, but they have been doing this ever since the creation of United States. Pretty much for a few cents, you could get almost anything in the Great Depression. And right now, you can't. For like 20 bucks, you can get a lot. And now you need a lot more money to buy the same thing. And constantly inflation going higher and higher. And even though they are saying inflation is very low by government standards, every single year inflation gets higher. This is why it's so much more expensive to buy certain things every single year, such as a vehicle, houses, and so on. Now, talking about back to Bitcoin itself, so the halving event, the actual event itself is very big. This specific event is going to actually make Bitcoin explode a lot higher. And because of that, the next few months, you're going to be seeing it go parabolically high. Now, the potential graphs that show for Bitcoin to go up is actually pretty high as well. So potentially before it pulls back just a bit, it probably is going to go around again where it went last time, which was 20,000 before, and then it crashed down. Although I'm thinking if you look at the actual graph itself, there is actually the potential for it to go almost as high as 100,000 right before the actual event itself. Now this is super speculative right here. There is no way that I'm going to actually play with Bitcoin itself. I don't like it. I don't think it is a legitimate form of currency because it is very hard for you to play something such as this. It's not stable enough for you to actually understand it. Plus, it's so hard for people to go ahead and buy the actual thing. You have to buy in exchanges, and some of those exchanges are not actually safe. This is why I dislike Bitcoin at the moment. But Bitcoin is a great way to be speculative. If you are playing and you're trying to make a lot of money in a very short period of time, this is potential that you can actually do. Although with a lot of risk, it comes with a lot of reward as well. So let's put it this way. The higher the risk, the more risk you're willing to take in stocks or just in anything, the higher the potential that you are going to reward yourself as well. But because the risk is so high, it is a sum or nothing game. Practically speaking, I do it myself as well. So for example, if I put all my money into one specific stock that I know is going to go either super high or super low, I'm either going to make a huge amount of money or I'm going to lose a huge amount of money. And this actually can happen with Bitcoin itself because of its fluctuations. The price itself fluctuates. It moves all the time because it moves so high and low very, very fast. This is where the potential of speculating and playing with it makes the possibility for you to make a lot of money. Now, to figure out where it's going to go next is a rocket science. It really is. It's very hard for you to figure out the direction of something like this. With Bitcoin itself, there's a lot of factors that move the actual price, but this is a news event. The halving event is real, and more people don't really know about as of yet. Until it gets into the news media and you can see people are like, oh, everybody's buying Bitcoin, it is on CNN, it is on Fox News, definitely this is the time to get out. Right now, I don't hear anybody talking about speculating about Bitcoin yet. They're talking a little bit about it. This reminds me of last time we had the same exact run-up with Bitcoin itself, where everybody was not yet talking about. I had friends who told me about, but I didn't actually touch it. And then once I saw it in the news, this was actually the end of the whole speculation right there. If you didn't sell it once it was in the news, you missed out your chance because after that it totally crashed down. So what I think is going to happen next is definitely the halving event is going to get more publicized. People are going to get to know about, and then they're going to say, oh, 2020 is coming. 2020 is going to get to a certain price, maybe 100,000 or so. Everybody's going to jump in it once again. The people who were betting before definitely are going to come and bet. There's going to be new people who are going to jump and bet because the supply itself is going to thin itself out. Definitely a lot more people are going to bet on the same exact thing, which actually means that if it doesn't go a lot higher, and if it does, people are like, oh, overnight I became rich and stuff like that, and that definitely gets a lot more people interested in Bitcoin itself. Now, in no way do I promote speculating in Bitcoin after you watch this whole thing. I dislike it, and I don't think this is a smart way for you to make money. That being said, if you like to gamble, this is definitely something you should check it out. But I don't, I myself, no way I'm touching Bitcoin. This is just, I'm telling you why it's going up and my reasons why I think it might potentially go higher. It doesn't mean it is. It can go any direction that it actually wants. Bitcoin is just like any other kind of speculative currency, just like in the stock market. You don't know the direction that it's going to go, and it all depends on how many people are buying into it. Like any stock in the stock market, the more people buy into it, the higher it goes. The more people get out and try to pull your money out, the lower it actually goes down. And Bitcoin is exactly that. Regardless of how many Bitcoins they actually exist, how many they actually make, and regardless of the actual event, it is all about supply and demand. And because of that, the higher the supply and the bigger the demand, this actually makes the price go up or down. The lower the supply, higher than demand, that's definitely is going to get the price to go even higher. Of course, if the supply is very low and the price is very high, well, you can do the math here. I mean, I just gave you a few examples, but it all has to do with supply and demand. But pretty much, let's put it this way. The bigger the supply, the bigger the demand, nothing is going to happen. Small supply, huge demand. This is when exponentially you're going to have a huge price event that's going to happen right there. The last thing you want is to have a huge supply and almost no demand. Then the price is going to go definitely down. So hopefully I explained to you what the halving event is really all about. And if you like this video and found it educational and helpful, give me a thumbs up. If you dislike anything that I say, make sure you comment right down below. Please sub to my channel and see you in the next video.